know who you are. We know who you are. You can leave free.
I felt hurt. I felt disrespected. I felt disregarded.
We know who you are. We know who you are. You can leave freely, but we will find you, and we know who you are. You will never be allowed in public again.
Yes, no more masks sounds good until it affects your family personally. It's our duty to protect our children, and we don't have time to wait for others to get vaccinated. But what we can do right now is agree that masks will slow the spread.
Excuse me, Deputy, can you please escort the man in the back out, please? Thank you, with the clipboard. Thank you.
I think they have been so enclosed with not being normal that the potential of someone controlling their life, they are stressed out, and they're lashing out. I just got off from work today, and we're starting to open up our 5th COVID unit. Our ER is full right now, waiting for beds. We are a high acuity of care hospital, and a lot of community hospitals depend on us to take their most sickest patients. I want to see football games and cheerleading and plays. I want to see that. I don't want to see the kids at home. The kids learn better at school. So we can't do it by ourselves. We need the community to help us. And if we don't do it together, we won't get anywhere.
The facts are clear. Kids are getting sick. It's happening now. Pediatric ICUs and ERs across the country, across the South, are being stretched to capacity in Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, and it will happen here eventually. Before we walked out, we had to brace ourselves. I took my wife's arm and I said, just remember, no matter what they say, these are the lives we're trying to save. And we walked out, and I was approached and someone put their hand in my face and called me a traitor. How anyone can say that when I've been on the front lines of this pandemic since the beginning, treating patients in rooms, unvaccinated for the vast majority of it, hoping I wouldn't take it home to my family. And for someone to say that, it's mind-blowing.
Back to school question. Florida's Governor DeSantis says that he may start withholding funds from school districts that don't let parents opt out of policies that require masks in the classroom. Does the president think that parents should have that kind of power?
Well, I think I've spoken to this a few times, but I will say, as a parent myself of 2 young children, that I want public health officials to make decisions about how to keep my kids safe, not politicians. And not only is Governor DeSantis not abiding by public health decisions, he's fundraising off of this. So my view is that, and our view as an administration, is that parents in Florida, parents across the country should have the ability and the knowledge that their kids are going to school and they're in safe environments. That shouldn't be too much to ask.
He says that his concern is about harmful emotional, academic, and psychological effects of putting kindergartners in masks for hours at a time. Is there any concern from officials that you guys talked to in your early pre-decisional discussions about that?
No, there's not. And I will tell you from personal experience, my rising kindergartner told me 2 days ago she could wear a mask all day, and she's just happy to go to camp and go to school. And the objective from all of our public health officials has been clearly, and our Secretary of Education, kids need to be in school. We know there's a mental health impact of them not being in school, and we should take the mitigation measures needed in order for them to be in school and in the classroom, including masking and including allowing that to be part of a reality in these schools to keep the community safe.
Thank you for coming, everyone.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has been spreading lies and misinformation about the pandemic for months.
Dr. Tony Fauci funded with your tax dollars
He funded it in the Wuhan lab, didn't he? He funded COVID-19.
And now she has once again run afoul with Twitter, the social media giant suspending the Georgia Republican's account for a week, this time for her tweet saying the FDA shouldn't approve COVID vaccines, and, quote, these vaccines are failing and do not reduce the spread of the virus, and neither do masks. Before the suspension, Twitter issued a disclaimer at the bottom of Green's tweet saying this tweet may be misleading.
Twitter doesn't give 3 strikes, they give 5 strikes. And right now, she is on her 4th strike because she continues to violate Twitter's policies.
Responding to the suspension, Green issued a statement saying, quote, Twitter suspends me because the truth is so offensive to the fragile hypocrites all over Twitter.
I hear Alabama might be one of the most unvaccinated states in the nation.
It all came right after Green kept spouting lies about Dr. Anthony Fauci at an event in Alabama.
He funded COVID-19, the gain-of-function research. That is his baby. That is his experiment. And he's getting to watch it in the real world.
Green's hardly the sole offender. Social media platforms have faced criticism for months for letting users publish a lot of misinformation on the COVID pandemic.
Facebook, Twitter, pretty much every digital platform has really struggled with COVID misinformation simply because there's so much of it. What we see is that there's still, a large number of accounts that are continuing to publish vaccine misinformation, COVID misinformation that haven't been blocked.
Matt Skibinski says his firm NewsGuard Technologies, which tracks misinformation online, has found several egregious examples of misinformation on the COVID pandemic over the past year and a half.
Early in COVID last year, there was a conspiracy theory spreading on Facebook and other platforms that 5G cell phone technology was the cause of COVID-19. And people were burning down cell phone towers in the UK because of that conspiracy theory, which had no basis in fact whatsoever and just took root in these pages and groups on Facebook and other platforms.
The Biden administration has criticized the social media giants for not doing enough to block COVID misinformation. President Biden, after saying last month that Facebook and other platforms are, quote, killing people, later walked that comment back. His Surgeon General acknowledged that while Facebook, Twitter, and others had made some effort to block or reduce COVID misinformation,
is that it's not enough, that we are still seeing a proliferation of misinformation online. And we know that health misinformation harms people's health. It costs them their lives.
we reached out to Facebook and Twitter for response to the criticism that they're not doing enough to stop COVID misinformation. Twitter didn't respond specifically, but has recently cited its policy that false or misleading claims may not be shared on Twitter, and it can and does label those tweets misleading, sometimes deletes tweets or suspends accounts. Facebook told us in a statement the criticism negates their proactive efforts to fight misinformation, that Facebook has removed 18 million pieces of COVID misinformation, has labeled over 167 million pieces of false content, and has connected over 2 billion people with good information on the pandemic.
Joe Biden is out on the campaign trail saying, don't trust Donald Trump. Did that create any kind of vaccine hesitancy?
Not that we've seen in the data. I would note that at the time, just for context, the former president was also suggesting people inject versions of poison into their veins to cure COVID.
As the president tries to reach unvaccinated Americans, has there been any thought given, looking back, to the possibility that he may have created some vaccine hesitancy when last year, around this time, the previous administration was rushing to get a vaccine authorized, and the now president said,
I trust vaccines, I trust scientists, but I don't trust Donald Trump. And at this moment, the American people can't either.
Well, I think it's safe to say he still doesn't trust Donald Trump, so that hasn't changed. But he does trust scientists, he does trust data experts, and he does trust the people leading the CDC, the FDA, which is the gold standard of approval for vaccines. I'd also note, because this question often comes up, that the president has repeatedly given credit to scientists and experts from the prior administration, even as recently as just a few weeks ago, for their role in moving the vaccine forward.
The vaccine was developed and authorized under a Republican administration, and it's been distributed and administered under a Democratic administration.
yes, but at the time when Donald Trump is out there saying we're going to have a vaccine in the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, And Joe Biden is out on the campaign trail saying, don't trust Donald Trump. Did that create any kind of vaccine hesitancy?
Not that we've seen in the data. I would note that at the time, just for context, the former president was also suggesting people inject versions of poison into their veins to cure COVID.
Supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning?
And Joe Biden, then vice president, was saying, we got to wait until something is fully authorized, and it's still not.
Well, the FDA works on the timeline of science. At the same time, we've also seen tens of millions of people's lives saved who have gotten the vaccine. That data is clear across the country.
I listened to the governor of Maryland today on the television. He's doing a heck of a job. I'm pleased to report the past week we've seen the first time vaccinations in America go up by 4 million people getting back, 4 million shots. That's more than we've seen in a long time. I want to thank the governors. I listened to the governor of Maryland today on the television. He's doing a heck of a job. Democratic governors as well, Republican governors. They're getting the word out.
We've got 77%, nearly 78% of our entire population is vaccinated, and 94 almost percent of our seniors are vaccinated. As a result, we have some of the lowest infection rates, lowest positivity rate, lowest hospitalizations of any state in America, and 100% of our hospitalizations and deaths at this time in Maryland are people who are unvaccinated. So today, we again are pulling out all the stops to get those remaining 22% of our folks vaccinated. I can't speak for the governor of Florida, but I can tell you we've taken a completely different approach in our state, which is, while we're concerned about the Delta variant, we had about 500 cases on Friday. I think they had 21,800 cases. We've got about 300 COVID patients in all of our hospitals, and they have 10,000. We're at some of our lowest points in the pandemic, and they're at the highest point in the entire 18 months, both on cases and hospitalizations. So I would say, we're going to stick with the approach we've been taking. I want to plead with those folks that are out there that are listening to crazy misinformation that they need to get vaccinated. It's the only way to stay safe and keep our economy and rolling.